A father slides a new phone across the kitchen table. His daughter picks it up like it's the only object in the room. She sees one thing, her phone. He sees the price he just paid, not the $10,000 chain of decisions that may have just begun. Neither of them is thinking about the cracked screen 2 summers from now, or the decisions that will follow over the years. They will arrive separately, each disguised as an isolated problem, a reasonable convenience, or an ordinary part of family life. The most expensive part of a child's first phone may not be the phone, but the 5 silent contracts that begin the moment the box opens, agreements nobody in the house ever actually discusses. No parent walks into a store planning a $10,000 phone mistake. Checkout ends in minutes, while those 5 hidden contracts keep shaping family spending throughout a child's adolescence, long after the original receipt is forgotten. The first usually appears when something goes wrong. The phone falls face down in a school parking lot. A thin black line cuts through the screen, or it vanishes from a backpack, drops into a sink, or reaches the stage where the charger only works at one precise angle. Now the family faces a decision it never made at the kitchen table. What does replacement mean here? Many parents naturally restore the child to the position they were in before. A child may genuinely need a working phone for communication and school logistics. Yet automatic replacement can create an expectation. If this object becomes unusable, another appears, and life returns to normal. The useful distinction is between normal wear, an unavoidable accident, carelessness, and a wish for something newer. Those situations can lead to different responses, even when the parent pays. A damaged premium phone might be replaced with a less expensive model. A child might contribute toward a repair. The family might use an older spare, or decide in advance which failures it covers automatically. Punishment is a poor substitute for a clear rule. A parent does not have to remove a child's way to call home to prove a point. The lesson comes from showing that ownership includes maintenance, trade-offs, and some exposure to the downside. For many children, a phone is the first possession they own emotionally, while somebody else carries the financial risk. They say, "It's mine," yet the repair bill, replacement decision, and lost value belong to the parent. That is where the math begins moving. One phone can become 2 or 3 across adolescence through a small, generous assumption. If this one disappears, another appears. Replacing a broken phone is easy to understand. The second contract begins, while the device still works perfectly well. The battery lasts through the day. Calls connect. Messages arrive. The camera still takes clear pictures. Then a friend gets the newer model, and the old phone starts to feel old in a way that has nothing to do with its actual condition. The first phone creates a baseline. If a child starts with a premium device, that tier can stop feeling premium surprisingly quickly. It becomes the standard the family is expected to maintain. Camera features improve, storage grows, cases change, and a model that once caused genuine excitement becomes the embarrassing one in the group chat. Children are not unusual for noticing status. Adults replace functioning cars, furniture, and kitchens because usefulness is only one job a purchase can perform. We also say we are saving money while holding a $7 coffee. Kids do the same math with less subtlety. A phone makes comparison frequent because it sits on desks, appears in mirrors, and announces its age beside every newer model. The financial purpose can shift without a family ever naming the shift. The first device solved communication. The next request may be about belonging, appearance, or the feeling of falling behind. A practical purchase slowly becomes a standard of living. Families handle upgrades in different ways. Some wait until a device no longer works or receives support. Some use a fixed replacement window. Some let the child contribute toward the difference between a functional option and the preferred model. The important part is making the reason visible. A phone that has failed creates one decision. A phone that no longer feels impressive creates another. Replacement and upgrades are visible. A broken screen, a lost phone, a request for the newer model. The third contract is quieter. A child sees one phone while the parent funds everything around it. That gap is the hidden money lesson we explore on Raised to Spend. If this changes how you see the phone in your child's hand, like the video and subscribe. Even after the box disappears, the bills remain. Service, data, protection, cloud storage, apps, streaming, accessories, and repairs keep returning. The child files all of it under one heading, My Phone. The parent sees a small operating system scattered across automatic payments. In 2026, Apple's US phone lineup starts at $599, while its 200GB cloud storage tier costs $2.99 a month. Other devices can cost less. The checkout price still tells only part of the story. Consider a simple illustration. A $40 monthly line, $3 of storage, and $7 across apps or subscriptions comes to $50 a month. That is $600 a year and $4,800 from age 10 to 18. Add 2 or 3 devices, around $600, and the total reaches or passes $6,000 before cases, chargers, repairs, protection, or an expensive loss. Higher-priced phones and frequent upgrades can push it much further. The numbers vary by household, but the mechanism stays the same. The birthday happens once while storage, data, and forgotten subscriptions keep maintaining the gift every month. This monthly contract gives a child an early lesson in family finance. Small digital charges can feel like background noise instead of real purchases. Making them visible does not require a lecture. A parent can occasionally review what the phone costs, which services still earn their place, and which extras remain choices. By the 4th contract, the phone is no longer on the kitchen table. It is in a school hallway, carpool line, sleepover, or group chat, being examined and occasionally judged by people who are 12. Pew Research Center found in 2024 that 95% of American teens owned or had access to a smartphone. When access is nearly universal, comparison can move from who has a phone to what kind they have. Brand, model age, camera quality, storage, newness, and even a cracked screen can become social information. A parent may hear, "Everyone has the newer one," which is one of childhood's most durable pieces of accounting. Everyone can mean 3 friends, 1 loud classmate, and a child who has been studying the evidence with the dedication of a forensic auditor. The pressure can still feel real. The device has quietly changed jobs. It began as safety and logistics. Years later, family money may be asked to buy relief from embarrassment or a sense of belonging. Because the request still sounds like a phone request, the shift can pass unnoticed. That does not make the child greedy, and it does not make the parent foolish for caring about belonging. Social exclusion hurts, especially during adolescence. Adults also spend money to avoid feeling visibly behind. A calmer conversation begins when the family names what has changed. Is the current phone unusable? Is there a feature the child genuinely needs? Is the request an optional upgrade? Is most of the pressure social? All of those reasons can matter. They simply ask money to do different jobs. Once the reason is visible, the family can weigh the trade-off honestly. Otherwise, a child may slowly learn that feeling behind creates a legitimate claim on family money. And the parent may keep paying a social membership fee that was never part of the first phone decision. Status explains why a child may want the next device. The 5th and final contract decides what happens when the child's choices create a real cost, and somebody has to absorb it. Something goes wrong, and this time, the damage has a number attached. A game purchase goes through at 11:30 at night. The child burns through paid data, forgets a subscription, loses the phone again, or drops it after being warned about the case. By morning, the parent is trying to reverse a charge, compare repair prices, or find a spare before school. The silent promise sounds simple. When the phone creates a financial problem, the adult's wallet will stop the consequence and restore normal life immediately. Sometimes that is the sensible response. Children do not need to carry the full cost of every mistake, and a family emergency is a terrible time to invent an elaborate courtroom. Yet the child needs some way to understand the connection between the decision and the money it consumed. Otherwise, the emotional experience belongs to them, while the financial experience ends at the parent's card. A consequence can be modest. The child might contribute part of an allowance, wait longer for an optional upgrade, use a cheaper replacement, review and cancel subscriptions with the parent, or help choose between repair and replacement. In another family, the contribution may be time and decision-making, rather than cash. The exact response matters less than preserving the link between action and cost. Parents often want two things that do not always fit comfortably together: for a child to learn responsibility and to be protected from every unpleasant result. A phone makes that tension manageable because most mistakes are real enough to cost money and small enough to survive as a lesson. With calm limits, it can become one of childhood's safer places to discover that ownership carries consequences. Erase every cost, and the child can reach adulthood familiar with possessing expensive things, yet unfamiliar with maintaining them, replacing them, or waiting after a mistake. Let every accident become a moral crisis, and the lesson turns into fear. Somewhere between those extremes is a family decision about how responsibility grows. The parenting question is not whether a child should have a phone. It is what the family quietly agrees to keep paying for after the first phone enters the child's life. The family does not need a laminated phone policy taped to the fridge. 5 questions asked early can make the silent contracts visible. What will the family replace automatically, and how will it distinguish failure from carelessness? What counts as an upgrade when the current device still works? Which recurring costs belong to the phone, including storage, services, protection, and app spending? How will the family talk about status when the pressure is real? What will happen after a costly mistake so the child participates through money, time, waiting, or the next decision? There is no single correct set of answers. A child who travels alone may need an immediate replacement. A family using hand-me-downs will face different choices, from one buying new, premium devices. Age, income, maturity, safety, and the child's ability to earn all change the trade-offs. Clarity is the useful part. Agreeing early is easier than negotiating beside a shattered screen at 7 in the morning. It also allows responsibility to grow gradually. The parent may carry most costs at first, then invite the child into choices, trade-offs, and eventually part of the expense. The phone can remain a useful tool while becoming a visible lesson in what expensive ownership actually requires. Years after that kitchen table handoff, the original box is probably buried in a closet. The first device may be gone, and the child may barely remember its model. What remains is the pattern the family built around it. Maybe broken phones were replaced immediately. Maybe upgrades arrived whenever the old model became embarrassing. Maybe monthly charges disappeared into autopay. Or maybe the child learned to separate function from status, helped decide whether a screen was worth repairing, and discovered that waiting is sometimes part of owning something. Late at night, the current phone sits charging on the kitchen counter. Nearby there may be a spare cable, a repair receipt, a monthly bill, and an older device asleep in a drawer. Nothing about the scene looks dramatic. The first phone never announced that 5 silent contracts were forming around it. It simply sat there being useful, one ordinary Tuesday at a time, while the family built them anyway. Years from now, your child probably will not remember what that first phone cost. They may remember, without realizing it, what happened every time it broke, grew old, charged the card, made them feel behind, or left somebody else with the bill. If you want to prepare your child for their next big purchase, like the video and subscribe to Raised to Spend. We explore ownership, trade-offs, and responsibility before adulthood makes those lessons more expensive.